Welcome to my backyard. I'm not proud of all of the things that I have picked up and dropped over the course of the last 5 to 6 years, but I can say that I learned a lot about picking up and dropping habits. And in this video, I want to talk to you about 5 strategies I use to maintain consistency with my habits over time. If you're somebody who tends to start something and then you fall off and then you pick it up again and it feels like a cycle, this video is for you. A lot of these strategies are inspired by the suggestions in the book Atomic Habits by James Clear. If you stay until the end of the video, I have 2 bonus strategies for you, so you don't want to miss out. Without further ado, let's get going. The first strategy that I use to maintain consistency with my habits over time is I don't. I allow myself to fall off the wagon every now and then. Now, there is something that's mentioned in Atomic Habits when it comes to breaking your habit or not maintaining consistency, and it's that when you miss one day, and this is not a quote verbatim, but this is the same message. If you miss one day, that's a lapse. But if you miss multiple, that's a pattern. If I miss one day of the gym, it was an off day. But the next day, no matter what, I have to go because I won't permit myself to repeat the same behavior consecutively, because then it develops a pattern. The reason why this is important is because behavior change is really difficult. And for me, one of the most difficult things about behavior change is the internal dialogue that surrounds it. There is, in my experience, or there are 2 people inside of oneself when it comes to changing your habits. One of them is, you might refer to them as the parent or the disciplinarian, and the other is yourself, or the one whose behavior needs to change. And when these 2 are in a dialogue that is not amicable, it sort of dissuades the other one from actually following through, or at least that's the case in my experience. If I have a failure and the disciplinarian becomes angry with me, or I become angry with myself, well, maybe this isn't for me. I'm not going to succeed at this anyway. I'll try again next year. I'll try again next month, or maybe this isn't just the right time to do this. We need to be able to have space in our lives for life to happen, and it is okay for perfection to not exist, because that's a preposterous expectation to put upon yourself. The sense of urgency around the behavior change needs to be realistic. It takes time for behavior to change, and we need to approach the entire enterprise with that understanding, really fundamentally, that we're not going to wake up one day and suddenly be different people. The second thing I do to keep consistent with my habits over time is I keep my habits low friction. And the example that I'm going to use to describe this to you would be the very expensive red light therapy mask that my roommate found on the street. If you don't know what red light therapy is, it has to be something that's done regularly over the course of time. Getting into red light therapy needs to become a habit. My roommate happened to find a very high quality red light therapy mask on the streets of New York, because you can just find really nice things on the streets of New York. It was a hard shell mask that needed to be plugged into the wall, and this didn't work for me because, first of all, the hard shell mask it's hard, it's uncomfortable for me to wear, and I had to be sort of tethered to this cable and plugged into the wall all the time. I looked at it, and even though I knew it was a very effective device, I was certain that it was not going to work, and it was because I knew that I would not use it, and that is exactly what happened. She didn't use it either, actually. The mask lived in our bathroom for 3 months, and I think that each of us used it about twice. So what was the issue? The issue was that the habit was too high friction. I didn't want to wear the mask. I didn't want to be stuck against the wall whenever I used it. I didn't see how I could just incorporate it into my routine in a way that was comfortable and easy. So to fix this, I had to reduce the friction. And I did that by purchasing my own mask that was a flexible fabric, so it was much more comfortable and easy for me to wear. And it was battery powered, so I didn't have to be plugged into the wall all the time. So now I just leave this mask on my nightstand, and in the morning, as soon as I wake up, I just put it on, and I fall back asleep for 10 minutes. If you're thinking about starting a new habit, think about how you can make it as easy as possible. One of the examples that's used in Atomic Habits is if you're developing a new gym routine, maybe you put your gym clothes out the night before so that it's easy for you to get dressed in the morning. Maybe if you want to remember to eat healthy, maybe you prep your meal on Sundays and pack everything nice and neat for you in the fridge. When I was trying to quit caffeine, I was really used to drinking energy drinks. So I bought glass bottles, and I put club soda with fruit and other herbs inside of the bottles, and I prepped them the night before so that when I woke up, I had something bubbly to drink that sort of mimicked the sparkly quality of my morning energy drink. Don't recommend that, by the way, energy drinks for breakfast. And it was also easy to grab. I needed something that was going to compete with the convenience of walking to the corner store and buying a Celsius or whatever. So number 2 is kind of a fun little puzzle. How can you make the new habit that you're trying to create as easy and low friction as humanly possible? Push until we overflow. That's just how the story goes. The next thing I do to stay consistent with my habits over time is I keep it on a schedule. I really think that I'm being quite generous with myself by using the word schedule in this context. So I think what I'm going to do is say something more like I keep it on a rhythm. I have tried a lot of different scheduling strategies. I've tried using calendars. I've tried timing things. It doesn't work. However, I find that rhythm is quite workable for me. It feels a little bit more like I have room to breathe, but I also have structure. All that means is that what I do is I keep a routine of some kind when it comes to habit building. And what that does is it allows my body to internalize the behavior so that when something deviates from that norm, it feels strange to me. What I'm trying to do when I do this is I'm trying to effectively internalize automation. Some of the ways that this has applied to me would be my exercise routine. I do one day on and one day off. Typically, sometimes I'll do multiple days in a row, but my typical routine is one day on, one day off, one day on, one day off. And so if I miss 2 days in a row, that's weird, but it's okay. I just will never miss 3. And if I miss 3, then I'm developing a new habit, and it's not a habit that I want to build. Another way to internalize habits would be eating and sleeping schedules. The body is very good at remembering what times you normally eat and what times you normally sleep, and so therefore, if you are on repeat, you will find that you naturally get hungry at certain times and you naturally get tired at certain times. I spent 2 years waking up between 5:30 and 6 a.m. for a job that started very early, and now that I'm no longer working at that job, I've still maintained that same routine. I don't wake up at 5:30, but I do wake up very early even when I go to bed late, and normally for me that looks like about 6:30 a.m. and I'm not tired, even though I'm annoyed that I'm waking up that early. The point is circadian rhythms are a really easy one to sort of fall into. It's the same thing with eating. I am right now focusing a lot on intermittent fasting and not eating late, because I find that when I don't eat late, I have a lot better energy. I try to keep my last meal 4 to 6 hours away from my bedtime. I don't plan to eat breakfast in the morning because maybe one day I did eat late and I want to have a longer non-eating window. I just find that I have trained myself to always want to eat at 8:45 a.m. And so I'm always hungry at 8:45 in the morning. So having a schedule and using your body to sort of support you in your behavior change is a really easy way to stay on target. You don't have to rely solely on your mind or your discipline to maintain behavior change. Push until we overflow. That's just how the story goes. The next thing I do, sort of in a similar vein, is to keep it repetitive. It's really borrowing from the same sort of habituation that we were discussing in the previous point. My entire goal is that I'm not thinking about the habit all the time. It just becomes part of my day-to-day operation without me even considering it. I eat similar foods all the time. Every now and then I will throw in something different because variety I know is very important in the diet. So I eat out, or if I see a new item at the grocery store, I'll give it a try. But generally I eat around the same time and I eat similar things. I also have a sensitive gut, so keep that in mind. But reducing optionality also makes things easier to stick to. If you're like me, I mean, everybody needs a little bit of variety and a little bit of adventure sometimes, but don't make the habits that you're trying to build the area where you're going to inject that need. I think, well, I don't want to speak in this prescriptive fashion. I'm somebody who needs variety and novelty and change and excitement and adventure, but I don't make my habits the area of my life where I incorporate those things. My habits, for me, need to be easy to do, predictable, background music, and other areas of my life are where I'm going to get my kicks. So I don't make them interesting. Push until we overflow. That's just how the story goes. And the last thing that I do to maintain consistency with my behaviors over time is I make them enjoyable. I don't engage with something if I don't like it, or I just know that I'm not going to, I'm less likely to, and I don't want to rely on self-discipline to have to maintain something. The discipline and the motivation is a limited resource. This is an interesting one because anytime I want to try something, I get to experiment or consider, how can I make this fun? How can I make this exciting? One of the things that I do is I have a playlist of songs that I can only listen to at the gym. These are bops. These are my jams. These get me hype. I would love to listen to them outside of the gym, but I'm not allowed. That's one of the ways I make my workouts really fun. I've tried a lot of different diets, and every time I tried a new eating pattern, I got really into recipes. So how can I make this as delicious as possible? Or if my priority for that time was making meal prep as like just a very quick part of my day, so I wasn't spending a lot of time preparing food, I would experiment with ways to make it as fast as possible or as convenient as possible. But in any case, the point was I was experimenting with how to enjoy the thing. At the beginning of the habit formation, this stage can take some time. It took me a while to find a way to really indulge in the thing, especially if it was something that I wouldn't inherently enjoy. When I first started my skincare routine, I was annoyed that I had to have a skincare routine. What a mindset, right? I made it a real indulgent experience, and it took me almost an hour to do my skincare routine every day. But that was just my intro into building the habit to begin with. And now at the end of the night, it just takes me 5 minutes to complete. But I needed to find the doorway in so that I would just do it in the first place. Okay, so if you've made it this far in the video, then it's time for you to watch me put on lip gloss, because I meant to do that before I started recording. That's my wallet. Anyway, it's time to share my bonus tips. So these are 2 additional strategies that I have used to help me stay consistent with habits that I find really helpful. The first one is to find an accountability buddy. Now, I'm not going to lie, I personally don't like organized group activities, or I should say, I don't like the idea of organized group activities, although when I do engage in them, I find that I like them quite a lot. And these are things like yoga classes or whatever other organized group activity you want to talk about, other than maybe a game night. But anyway, I digress. So that's to say that I am not typically the person who's going to seek out another individual to help me with building habits. However, I have found that when I did do it, it really helped a lot. Even for somebody like me who likes to try and figure things out on her own, if it's going to help me, it's got to help you. I had an accountability buddy when I was first quitting sugar. I did quit eating added sugar. If you want to hear more about that experience, you can check out this video over here. But quitting sugar is really hard. So when I first did it, I did it with a friend, and it was actually really funny, and it made it a lot more fun. I, first of all, couldn't believe that I found somebody who would actually want to do that with me, and they were really bad at it, which did make it quite comical. But we were sending each other pictures of our food every day. We were also sending each other pictures of food that we were tempted to eat every day. And it does get easier quite quickly with that habit in particular. You do begin to see results within a matter of days, or at least I did, an improvement in energy and clarity of mind and all these things. And so it's really fun to have that experience with another person. You can turn it into a bonding exercise. You can egg one another on, hold each other accountable. And so if it's something that's really difficult and relationships are really important to you, and you do have somebody who also is on a similar change train as you, I 10 out of 10 would encourage an accountability buddy. And the last bonus tip would be to just show up. The umbrella covering all of the points mentioned in this video is that habit building and habit breaking shouldn't be hard, and I stand by that. However, there are times when you're just not going to feel like doing it. I promise you, you're not going to feel like doing it. What I've learned is that when you just do it anyway, like, it doesn't have to be perfect. Sometimes I go to the gym and I'm there for 20 minutes. I'll admit it, okay? Maybe less. Maybe I barely do it. Maybe I'm there for a long time, but I'm not really trying that hard. The point is that I maintained the function. I kept the action. The behavior is still in my body. You want to keep the behavior in your body. And similar to the me thinking I don't like organized group activities thing, but when I get there, I have a great time. This has happened to me with getting up in the... Sometimes I open my eyes in the morning. I don't want to get out of bed. I don't want to get out of bed, you guys, but I have to. And so I do it anyway. I get up and I start going about my day. And lo and behold, it gets way easier. It's really not as hard as I thought it was going to be. And I would say this for anything. So in those moments when you've pulled out all the stops, you've kept it low friction, you've kept it on the schedule, you've kept it enjoyable. What's the other thing I said? You've kept it repetitive. You still don't feel like doing it. Just do it anyway. Just have faith that when you do take that one step forward, it'll get easier, because it does. Oh God. Okay, so those are all the tips I have for you. I hope that on your journey to building your new habits, you just put a couple of these in your back pocket and you take them out as needed. And I hope that you find that habit building and habit breaking can actually be really easy when you get the hang of it, because it really is just a skill, just like anything else. And it does get easier over time, and it is just a muscle that you build through experience. And let me know what kind of habits you're building and what habits you're breaking and what strategies you use to keep yourself accountable and consistent. Let me know what other topics you'd like to discuss in this vein, whether that's a particular routine or a particular habit that you're thinking about starting or stopping, or other strategies for self-optimization. I hope that you enjoyed, and until the next video, keep experimenting. That's what I'm gonna say. Until the next video, keep experimenting. I like that. Push until we overflow. That's just how the story goes. Oh my God, my toe. Something bit me. Son of a... Maybe I was purchasing products that I thought, it improved my experience, or I should have done this first. Doing it in different environments to see which context. Get this broom out of the frame. I could, perform the habit more easily or have more fun in it. What else?